It's all covered in today's China Truths.
Recently, a shocking story from Jiangsu, China went viral. A man deliberately carried a Chinese-made drone into the United States, only to see his entire family's visas abruptly canceled. The incident instantly lit up public debate. In early August, the man, identified online as a Jiangsu resident, blasted Chinese social media, demanding compensation from drone giant DJI. He claimed he had bought DJI's flagship Mavic 4 Pro online for his US trip, and that sales staff had assured him it was legal to bring, even offering step-by-step instructions for obtaining an American operating permit. But the moment he landed in the US, on August 8th with his wife and child, Customs seized the drone. When officers made it clear it wouldn't be returned, he lost control and demanded it back. That outburst cost him dearly. The visas of all 3 family members were revoked on the spot. Stranded at the airport for days, they were eventually forced onto a return flight to China. Furious, he declared online that DJI must publicly apologize and cover all his losses, or face lawsuits and formal complaints. The drama exploded across overseas platforms. Some compared bringing a DJI drone into America to walking straight into a loaded gun, noting that authorities instantly linked such gear to espionage. Others argued Customs had given him a way out. Just leave the drone behind. But he chose confrontation. Since 2018, the US military has banned Chinese drones, and in recent years, Washington has formally branded DJI a national security threat. Both Trump and Biden administrations even weighed a total ban. Skeptics doubted he was any kind of professional spy, pointing out that no real agent would openly demand money from a defense-linked company. Still, they questioned why he carried such a sensitive item knowing the risks. Maybe some speculated he was a minor recruit lured with promises of cash for footage. The irony, he never broke China's firewall, so he never learned how seriously America views these drones. If he had, he might have thought twice before risking his family's deportation. Almost at the same time, another Chinese citizen made headlines in the US, this time for confirmed espionage. On March 18, the Department of Justice announced that Wen Tinghua, an undocumented Chinese immigrant, was sentenced to 8 years in prison for exporting firearms, ammunition, and sensitive tech to North Korea. Prosecutors said Wen had long funneled military goods to China, which were then smuggled to Pyongyang until federal agents closed in. Living in Ontario, California, Wen was arrested last December and pled guilty to conspiracy, violating the International Emergency Economic Powers Act, EPI, and acting as an unregistered foreign agent. The DOJ revealed that Wen first came to the US on a student visa in 2012, but overstayed illegally. Before even arriving, he had already met North Korean officials in Beijing, received $2 million in payments, and was tasked with sourcing weapons. By 2022, Pyongyang agents instructed him to buy guns and sensitive US technology, route them through China and into North Korea. In 2023, he tried to send 3 shipping containers loaded with hidden military equipment from the port of Long Beach, disguising them with falsified export records. That May, he paid $150,000 for a licensed firearms company in Houston, using it as cover to buy stockpiles of guns and route them to California for export. By September 2024, Wen was buying 60,000 rounds of 9mm ammo, plus a civilian aircraft engine and thermal reconnaissance systems, all destined for North Korea. Many observers believed Wen was already under Pyongyang's influence before he even set foot in America, making him less of a student and more of a spy chasing money. As for the Chinese family deported at the airport, some online voices argued they were actually lucky. Had they managed to sneak the drone past customs, the punishment could have been far harsher than just losing their visas. And then came another explosive case. In Philadelphia, U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE, issued a final deportation order for Chinese national Xu Fengyun, who had been caught using drones to photograph restricted military installations. ICE placed him on the national security risk list, with Director Brian Marin stressing that Shu's removal sent a clear message. Threats to U.S. security will not be tolerated. Shu's background shocked many. He first arrived in America in 2021 on an F-1 student visa to study agricultural engineering at the University of Minnesota. His LinkedIn revealed ties to the State Grid Corporation of China. But in early 2024, he flew a drone over a shipyard in Norfolk, Virginia. Residents reported him, and the FBI later discovered footage of U.S. Navy vessels stored on his memory card. He was arrested before he could leave the country. Charged under the World War II-era Espionage Act, Shu's student visa was revoked, his exchange program terminated, and in June 2024, he was indicted on 6 counts of espionage. By July, he pleaded guilty to 2 charges: photographing restricted defense sites and flying an unregistered drone over sensitive areas. In October, the U.S. District Court of Virginia convicted him and sentenced him to 6 months in prison, plus 1 year of supervision. Released in March, Shu was immediately taken into custody again, this time to be deported back to China. But the story didn't stop in America. South Korea uncovered a string of similar cases. In April, 2 Chinese students were caught photographing U.S. military aircraft near the 10th Fighter Wing in Gyeonggi Province. One claimed his father was a Chinese police officer. Investigators soon found they had taken hundreds of photos at air bases and airports across the country. Then on June 26th, Busan police revealed another bombshell. 2 more Chinese nationals had been using drones for months to record South Korea's naval base in Busan, including footage of the USS Ronald Reagan during joint exercises. Authorities said it was the first time foreign nationals had ever been arrested under South Korea's Protection of Military Bases Act. Over nearly a year, the suspects had captured 172 photos and 22 videos. Some even posted on TikTok. South Korean media later exposed more incidents. Chinese nationals secretly photographing an aircraft carrier, filming intelligence headquarters, recording airports, and even posing as soldiers to trick servicemen. But under South Korean law, espionage only applies to enemy states like North Korea. This means such cases were treated as basic security violations, with penalties of up to 3 years in prison or a $20,000 fine, instead of espionage, which could mean life behind bars or worse. Many online voices pointed out that working as a spy for regimes like China or North Korea almost always ends in disaster. Without powerful backing, unlike Huawei's Meng Wanzhou, failed operatives are quickly abandoned, left with no protection and no support even for their families. In May, Italian police, acting on a U.S. request, arrested Chinese hacker Shu Jiwei at Milan Airport. Shu, 33, worked for a cyber firm tied to China's Ministry of Public Security and had launched multiple attacks worldwide, including against the U.S. On the day of his arrest, Shu was traveling with his wife, but only he was taken into custody. His wife was briefly detained before being released, fueling speculation that Shu brought her along because he knew he was on an international wanted list. Back in China, Shu's wife began posting emotional appeals online, chanting patriotic slogans and begging the government to rescue her husband. Yet Beijing refused to acknowledge Shu's role, taking no steps to help. By mid-September, her Xiaohongshu posts were deleted, her Weibo suspended. Then suddenly on September 17th, state-linked media outlets began publishing chaotic reports that Shu had been freed, claiming the U.S. had lost, but the details didn't match. Some claimed he was released on September 15th, others said Italy freed his whole family. That same day, Shu's wife, using a new account, denied it all, insisting he was still in custody. Commentators noted Shu's arrest was a warning to those still risking their lives for the party. The CCP fears its operatives could defect abroad, but instead of helping them, it spreads fake news to calm nerves. As many observed, working for the CCP often means betrayal. Once exposed, operatives are abandoned, silenced, or cut off forever. Meanwhile, U.S. authorities have also increased crackdowns on Chinese nationals committing crimes. On June 18th, prosecutors in Florida charged 2 citizens, Liu Taoyuan, 22, and Chen Linghan, 26, in a massive gift card fraud scheme. They allegedly conspired to steal card pins, then drained the money after unsuspecting customers activated the cards. Police raided their home, seizing piles of tampered gift cards with more found in their car. If convicted, they each face up to 15 years in prison. In late July, prosecutors in Alabama charged 2 others, Chao Jiadong, 36, and Zheng Shuijin, 48, after police uncovered more than 5,000 compromised gift cards. Nearly all had been scratched or altered, ready for theft. Some netizens warned that whether in China or abroad, Chinese people must stay alert. In America, they should value the freedom they have. Why risk it all for petty crimes or for the CCP, only to face ruin? And for those still in China, going abroad, especially to the US, is getting harder by the day. Careless actions don't just endanger oneself, they drag family into disaster too. The Jiangsu man deported over his drone learned this the hard way. Being denied entry may have saved his wife and child from something far worse. If he had been caught secretly filming in America, the outcome would have been devastating. Yet he still doesn't see it. The drone he carried has already destroyed his future, and his troubles are only beginning.
Across cities and villages, from Guangdong's skyscrapers to Henan's dusty towns, a silent nightmare is unfolding. People walk into banks and walk out with nothing. ATMs don't work, online banking freezes, and for millions of Chinese citizens, a terrifying realization is sinking in. Their life savings may be gone. Lines of desperate customers snake outside shuttered branches. Protesters hold up signs begging for access to their own money. On social media, videos surface, then disappear, showing elderly citizens banging on locked bank doors, live streamers being dragged away, and whispers of system upgrades, masking what many now believe is a full-blown liquidity crisis. For decades, the Chinese banking system appeared unshakable, state-backed, party-controlled, and too big to fail. Rural banks served farmers and pensioners. Giant lenders supported real estate, infrastructure, and local governments. Trust was never questioned. Until now, behind the facade, a slow collapse has been brewing. Years of reckless lending, shadow banking, and toxic investments in failed property ventures have hollowed out the system from within. Smaller banks in provinces like Henan, Hebei, and Shandong lured depositors with high returns now exposed as unsustainable. As the property bubble burst and debts piled up, cracks became canyons. Authorities tried to plaster over the problem, injecting cash, merging weak banks, censoring bad news, but the dam has broken. Henan's village banks were the first to freeze withdrawals. Officials blamed IT maintenance. Then came silence. Weeks passed. People protested. Some were beaten, some vanished. Still, the withdrawals never resumed. Now the crisis is no longer local. Daily ATM limits have dropped to as low as 300 yuan, around 40 USD. Transfers fail without warning. Balances appear altered. Some accounts are flagged for unusual activity, simply for holding over 10,000 yuan. Even fixed deposits are being locked up under vague legal excuses. One viral post from Shenzhen showed a bank notice freezing withdrawals above a certain threshold. The account was banned within hours. Others report similar experiences, but few dare to speak up. The message is clear. China's banking system is no longer untouchable, and for ordinary citizens, what once felt secure now feels like a trap. China's financial meltdown has quietly begun, but no one is allowed to say it. Across China, fear is spreading faster than any official announcement. In the early hours before sunrise, lines form outside bank branches. Desperate citizens, young and old, withdraw small amounts from multiple banks, hoping to avoid triggering suspicion. Some convert their savings into gold, foreign currency, or digital assets, despite Beijing's harsh bans on crypto. And it's not just individuals. Small businesses are suffocating. In Guangdong, factory owners say they can't pay workers or suppliers because bank credit has suddenly been cut off. Construction firms report halted projects as promised loans vanish without a trace. Gig workers complain their payouts are delayed for weeks, even as apps insist the money was already sent. Meanwhile, state media maintains total radio silence. No headlines on CCTV, no emergency statements from the People's Bank of China or the Ministry of Finance. Instead, propaganda channels push messages of unity and trust, while behind the scenes, banks freeze funds without warning or explanation. Whispers flood social media. Is this a trial run of a soft bail-in where citizens absorb the losses? Is it a stealth move to force adoption of a fully surveilled digital yuan? Whatever the reason, the outcome is the same: chaos, confusion, and collapsing trust. A question now echoes across the country. If I can't touch my own money, do I have any rights left? This isn't a random glitch. It's a structural unraveling. Rural banks are crumbling under pressure. Local governments are drowning in hidden debts. And behind the scenes, an invisible network of shadow banks, rural cooperatives, credit unions, high-yield platforms has been gambling with trillions in savings from migrant workers and retirees. For years, these unregulated institutions promised sky-high returns, but instead of safe investments, the money was funneled into high-risk real estate schemes and failing local government projects. When those bets collapsed, so did the institutions. No safeguards, no accountability, no refunds. It started in Henan, where banks suddenly blocked withdrawals. Authorities dismissed it as isolated, but it wasn't. It was the first crack in a much bigger fracture. China's real estate addiction was always a ticking time bomb. Developers borrowed endlessly, banks lent blindly. Homebuyers poured money into apartments that didn't exist, clinging to the fantasy that prices would rise forever. When giants like Evergrande and Country Garden collapsed, the illusion shattered. Now, ghost towns filled with unfinished buildings stretch across the country. No more loan repayments, no more interest income, no buyers for foreclosed properties. Banks had used these toxic loans as collateral to borrow even more, creating a dangerous financial house of cards. Now, even major city banks are drowning in bad debt. But instead of admitting the truth, regulators have banned them from publishing real numbers, so banks quietly lock accounts, delay withdrawals, and limit transfers, anything to avoid the appearance of collapse. They're not solving the problem, they're just buying time. And that silence from Beijing? It's not just financial, it's political. The Chinese Communist Party has a long history of refusing to admit failure. To them, acknowledging a banking crisis would be tantamount to declaring systemic collapse. And with major party meetings and global summits approaching, that's unthinkable. So instead of real reforms, the government tells local officials to maintain stability. That means scrubbing viral videos, suppressing whistleblowers, and feeding vague promises to angry depositors. Meanwhile, no one explains what's really going on. No one fixes the root problem, and no one dares speak the truth. From village banks to national institutions, from rural credit unions to major lenders, the public no longer trusts that their money is safe. Businesses no longer trust that credit will arrive. Even local governments are being blocked from accessing their own budgets for social programs and infrastructure. Every delay deepens the damage. Every silence from the central bank is another warning bell. People are losing everything. Elderly citizens, robbed of a lifetime of savings. Families, unable to pay rent. Protesters, silenced or detained. What's unfolding isn't just a liquidity crisis, it's a nationwide breakdown in trust. Imagine working for 40 years, saving every yuan in a safe bank, and waking up one day to a silent notification on your screen. Withdrawals temporarily unavailable. No reason, no timeline, no one to call, just silence. In provinces like Henan, Anhui, and Hunan, families have been locked out of their own savings for over a year. Rural banks froze withdrawals without warning. Pensioners can't afford hospital visits. Farmers can't buy seeds. Young parents delay tuition payments, and millions wait, silently, hopelessly, for answers that never come. Behind closed doors, the toll is devastating, and while officials blame technical upgrades or fraud investigations, people know the truth. The system is breaking down. Small businesses have lost access to credit, contractors go unpaid, housing funds are frozen, triggering more job losses. In Zhengzhou, hundreds marched to the People's Bank branch, chanting, "Give us our money." The response? Riot police, surveillance, and silence. From factory workers to unpaid teachers, the movement is growing. Their demand is no longer just about cash, it's about dignity. One protester in Hubei put it simply, "If I can't even withdraw my own salary, what rights do I have left?" Millions now suffer in the shadows. Migrant workers wait months for wages. Some sleep in unfinished buildings. Others survive on food handouts. The fear is spreading, not just in villages but in cities like Shanghai and Shenzhen. Office workers now stash cash under mattresses. Engineers divide their savings across banks. Quiet panic is turning into a nationwide slow-motion bank run. And with that, something deeper is collapsing. Trust. People are no longer spending, borrowing, or investing. Consumption has frozen. Private capital is fleeing. Economic activity is stalling not from lack of money, but from fear. And no amount of propaganda can fix what fear has already broken. The question is no longer if China's banking system is in crisis. The question is, how far will this unravel before it can't be fixed? If even state-linked banks are locking out depositors, what else is being hidden? This is no longer about mismanaged lenders. It's about a system unwilling to admit failure, more obsessed with control than correction. Every day without transparency deepens the divide between the people and the state. The next spark won't come from Wall Street or Washington. It'll come from within, from millions who feel robbed, silenced, and betrayed. And once trust is gone, there's no easy way back. If you found this eye-opening, subscribe to China Truths for more uncensored stories from behind the firewall. What's your take on this crisis? Drop a comment. We read everyone.
Please share your thoughts in the comments section below. We will keep reporting on the COVID surge in China, so don't forget to subscribe to our channel and turn on the notification bell to get the latest videos. And thank you for tuning in.